Good morning, students. Today we will read an interesting chapter, The Kingdom of Fools. This story is known to be a Kannada folk tale, Kannada, which is a regional language in Karnataka. And as you all might have heard, folk tale is a story which is passed on from one generation to another generation. It is taken from the book Folk Tales from India, written by A.K. Ramanujan. Now, what does it mean in the kingdom of fools? It means the state where people are not so wise, obviously they are not intelligent, and not only the king, his ministers and his advisors, they all are fools. No one was wise in that entire kingdom. Some people, common people were wise, but they cannot go against the king or his ministers or advisors. So this story is being presented in a very funny manner, and you all are going to enjoy this story. So let's begin the story. Obviously, there is a message also. The message is about that don't be greedy. Specifically, it is about the foodaholic attitude of the disciple who comes in the trouble because of his greedy habit. So now let's discuss the chapter. In the kingdom of fools, both the kings and the minister were idiots. Obviously, idiots here means unintelligent. They didn't want to run things like other kings, so they decided to change night into day and day into night. Since the king and the minister, they both were so unwise, foolish, that they thought that they will do something different, and by which they will gain a lot of name and fame. And so what happened? They started treating night as day and day as night. Means the work which can be done during day, it would be done during the night, and the work which is being done in night, that will be done in day. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night, till their fields and run their businesses only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Till means cultivating land, or anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. So they passed an order that everyone in the kingdom would work at night, nobody would sleep at night. The farmers would do farming at night, or maybe they can run errands, business, whatever, but everything will be done at night. And as soon as the sun rose, everyone would go to sleep, and if someone would disobey the order, they will be punished. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. Now, what people will do? They were scared of death. So they did not obey the king's order. They would be sentenced with death penalty. That is why they obeyed the order, although it was very strange. The king and minister, both the fools, were very happy, and all the people in the kingdom were following their order. One day a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. Stirring means moving. So when the saint arrived, he was very surprised. He was astonished to see that the entire kingdom is sleeping. Although it was a bright sunny day, it was a beautiful city. So even the mouse was not stirring. They could not find a single mouse moving around, which means it was so quiet as everyone that even the teeniest creature, even the cattle, even the animals were taught to sleep during daytime. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. Amazed means shocked and surprised. Now these two strangers to the kingdom of fools were not aware that this king of order had been passed in the city. They were not knowing that the king is foolish and he has passed this order. So they were surprised to see that everyone was sleeping during daytime. They kept on wandering, moving around in the whole city. And as soon as the night started, everyone woke up and started doing their work. Even the farmers, they started farming, businessmen, they were doing business. Schools started running, means everything was as it is, as is usually it happens during daytime. The two men were hungry, and now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. And to their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single dudu. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a dudu. Dudu, actually, it is money in Kannada language. The Guru and his disciple were very hungry because the entire day they kept on moving. They did not find a simple shop open for them. But as the shop opened at night, they went to buy groceries. And then again they were surprised. They were taken aback to see that whatever they bought from the shop costed one dudu. The things were very cheap out there. Whether you buy a big bunch of bananas or you buy a big bag of rice, it costed only one dudu, one coin. So again, it was amazing thing that everything was at the same price in Kingdom of Fools, all the eatables. The Guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for 1 rupee only. And they were happy also, specifically disciple, because he was a foodaholic. He loved the foodie. When they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay here. Now, Guru was a wise man. He realized that definitely there will be some problem. And that's why he said, there is no place for us. This is no place for us. Let's go. He said to his disciple. Guru was wise and so he suggested this. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Why? Everything was cheap here and all he wanted was good, cheap food. Since the disciple was foodie and he loved to eat, so he decided that no, he will not leave this place because the food was cheap there. The Guru said, they are all fools. This won't last very long. You can't tell what they will do to you next. Guru tried to convince his disciple. He tried him to understand that everyone is fool here and one day he can be in trouble. But disciple did not listen to him. He wouldn't listen to the Guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay because he wanted to enjoy the cheap food. And the Guru finally gave up and said, do what you want. I am going, and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day. Bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street side sacred bull. So he became very obese, very, very fat. Now, till now everything was going on well. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in. Sneaked means to enter stealthily. And as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed, fell down on his head, and killed him on the spot. Now that thief stealthily entered a merchant's house, but as he was about to come out, the wall broke and fell down, and he died. His brother ran to the king and complained, Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trend, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice. Now pursuing means follow. Ancient trade, here he refers to the theft. Okay. And so the thief younger brother went to the king, complained about his brothers, that how he was, means ancient trade, actually it was a robbing which was a crime. And while he was working, he died. And so he said, no, you need to punish the culprit. And since the merchant was the culprit, he should be punished, and also he demanded for the compensation. The king said, Justice will be done, don't worry. And at once summoned the owner of the house. Summon means to call someone. King was foolish. He did not consider the fact that the dead man was committing theft at the time of death. Any wise man would have done that. He only thought that the man died because the wall fell on him, and the owner of the house whose wall fell on him had to be punished. So he called the merchant. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him. What's your name? Such and such, your highness. Such and such is written because these folk tales are told in all the areas with their own regional languages. So what do? They add their own regional names. Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house? Yes, my lord, he broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him. The accused pleads guilty. Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you. So the merchant appeared and the king asked him name and also asked that while burgling your house, your wall fell down and this man died. So now and he accepted. One thing I would like to say, that even though the entire kingdom was filled with foolish people, but they were truthful person. They were never telling a lie. So he accepted, yes, it was my wall, and since it was weak, it fell down. So the king told the merchant that you are guilty, because of your wall he died, so you would be punished. Lord, said the helpless merchant, I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of a man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him. Who is that? My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby. So the merchant pleaded in front of king, requested that it's not my fault. Actually, merchant was knowing that the king is fool. So he started taking advantage of his foolishness. And he simply said, since I did not construct this property, so I don't think that I should get this punishment. You should punish the person who made this wall. And who was that? It was a mason, a bricklayer. The king sent out messenger to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him, tied hand and foot. You there? Did you build this man's wall in his father's time? Yes, my lord, I did. He also accepted. What kind of a wall is this that you built? It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. We have to punish you by death. And the foolish king again passed the statement. He said that since you made the poor wall and it killed the thief, so you will get a punishment. You will be punished. Now, before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded. Now, bricklayer was also smart. He thought, okay, I will also take advantage of this situation. He started pleading, making request. He said, please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true, I built this wall and it was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives. Ho ho, so the smart man, he said, no, you cannot punish me. I am not to be blamed. It was because of a girl who was roaming in the street and her anklets were making jingling sound. And because of that, I was unable to concentrate on my work. So I don't think that I am to be punished. She should be punished instead of me. You are right. The case deepens. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated cases. Oh, he is calling this case complicated. Let's get that dancer wherever she is. So he again passed that, yeah, call her, that because she had done this mistake, so we are going to punish the dancing girl. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, my lord, I remember it very well. So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling? You were young and you distracted him. So he built a bad wall. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished. And then the king told her the entire episode, that since you were the lady who distracted the attention of bricklayer and that's why he could not work his properly, so you would be punished. She thought for a minute and said, my lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. And he was a lazy scoundrel. Scoundrel is actually a dishonest person, an abusive word it is. And he made so many excuses. Said he would give it now and he would give it then. And so on all day he made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. Now, very good. The dancing girl transferred the blame to another person. To whom? To the goldsmith. She had given some gold to him to make jewelry, and since he was basically a, you can say, dishonest person, he kept on making excuses, and for that reason she has to move to his house a dozen times. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It is the damned goldsmith's fault. So she passed the for to goldsmith. Poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. And now the king passed the judgment. He simply ordered to bring the goldsmith. The king's bailiffs, the law officer, searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation to blame someone against him, he had his own story to tell. Now, the goldsmith was also a smart and intelligent fellow. He said, okay, now the blame has come to me. I have my own story. Fine. Now he started. He said, my lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It is true I made the dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. So the dancing girl asked him, he actually made this excuse. But again, the rich merchant, he had his own story. He said that rich merchant asked me to make the wedding because the wedding was very close, and so I was not able to finish her order. Who is the rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry, made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of this wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him? Now that was the question. That you tell me, that who made you do this? That was the question. The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king, back to the merchant when he was rudely summoned back to the court, and he arrived crying. So the goldsmith, after saying all these things, the entire circle, the process was complete, and the thief died under the wall of the same merchant whose jewelry this goldsmith was making. Once again the merchant was called And this time he was crying because he knew that the king was foolish and he would give him death sentence. He said, "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead and I am innocent." Obviously, he has his own way of pleading. He said, "Please, it's not my fault. It was fault of my father." But the king consulted his minister. Obviously, foolish king has the foolish ministers and foolish advisors, and ruled decisively. "It's true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from the criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die." So the king consulted his minister and gave the decision that his father was the murderer, and since you are his son, you inherited all his property, so you have to take this punishment also. And then he said that he had a feeling that the very first time when I saw you, I had a feeling that you were a culprit. And finally, the judgment was passed. And he ordered a new stake. Stake, it's a post with a sharp pointed end where we used to cut something, specifically near temples you would have seen. So the new stake to be made for the execution. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling to push a sharp pointed post of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake, and he appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now stake was ready, the new stake, but merchant was too thin for that. His neck was not able to fit up that stake. And then this question was put before the king. "What shall we do?" he said. When suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. So now you are coming to the story that what he was going to decide. That they needed a fat man who would be enough to be executed with a stake. And then what happened? The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. And as we all know, they found the Guru's disciple who had become excessive fat because of overeating. "What have I done wrong? I'm innocent, I'm a sannyasi," he cried. And then when the king's men came here to take him, he was really surprised. "Why? I haven't done anything. I'm a sannyasi." That may be true, but it's the only royal decree. Royal decree means order, royal order, that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake. They said and carried him to the place of execution. So he was taken to the place. And now he remembered his wise Guru's word. This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will do next. So he remembered those golden words. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his Guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The Guru saw everything in a vision. He had a magic powers. He could see far, he could see the future, as he could see the present and the past. Guru could visualize everything. He visualized the disciple message because he was very powerful. And so he arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrape, means difficult situation, through love of food. He arrived there. He was knowing that they were about to execute his disciple who had done nothing. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Then he went to the king and addressed him. Means whispers. He's whispered something in his ears. What did he whisper, you know? They made a plan. And then he went to king and told him, "O wisest of kings," although he is fool, "who is greater, the Guru or the disciple?"
Of course, the Guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask? Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me. Very, strange thing he asked from the king. And what was the strange thing? The Guru said that the king must execute him before executing his disciple. Now the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor. Clamor here means insisting, speaking loudly. So he said, me first, you brought me here first, put me to death first, not him. So they both started fighting. I want to die first, I want to die first. Actually, it was all a plan. And so the Guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by his behavior. He asked the Guru, why do you want to die? We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake. You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first, replied the Guru. So he simply, no, don't ask me this thing. I want to die. Why? There is some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you? Asked the Guru. Now the Guru asked the king to promise him that he would execute him first if he will tell him the reason. The king gave him some word. The Guru took him aside, out of the servant's earshot, and whispered to him, do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us, we have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. The stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new and it has never had a criminal on it. Now the Guru decided, he said, okay, I will tell you. He said that I roamed around in the whole world, but it's a great city. I have never seen a city like this. He added that the stake, which is new, and no criminal has been ever sacrificed on this. So whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country. And whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. And we are sick of our ascetic life. Ascetic life means life of sannyasi, which is full of discipline. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. Very smartly he played the game. And he said that since it's a very pious stake, whoever will die on it first, he will become the king in the next birth, and second, he will become a minister. So please kill me. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else even in the next round of life. See how foolish king was. He did not even want to lose his kingdom in the next life. So he decided, he thought, he needed time. He ordered the execution postponed to put up for the next day and talked in secret with his minister. So he went to talk to his minister. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we will be reborn as king and minister again. Holy man, do not tell lies, he said, and the minister agreed. So he talked to the minister and he said, since holy man did not speak lies, so I think I also want to reborn as a king and minister, so I would like to kill myself. So he told the executioners, we will send the criminals tonight, and when the first man comes to you, put him to death first, and then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders, don't make any mistakes. That night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the Guru and the disciple, disguised, different appearance, themselves as the two, and as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. So, as the king and the minister desired, they went to the prison, they released the Guru and disciple, and they disguised themselves as Guru and disciple, and they came to that place where they both were executed. So in this way, with his intelligence, the Guru was able to execute his foolish king and his foolish minister. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. People became frightful because they started trembling. It was the dead body of their king and minister. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king minister. The city was in confusion. All night they mourned, means they grieved and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of the Guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave down unnoticed. Now everyone in the kingdom was mourning the death of their king and minister. And then this thought about of the Guru and his disciple. And then they made a plan because they were actually, and the Guru and disciple, they were leaving the kingdom. They stopped them. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others agreed. And when unanimously this decision was taken, they begged the Guru. What was the decision? That now they need a king and minister. And I think they thought that the Guru and the disciple were the most suitable candidate for this post. They begged the Guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. It didn't take many arguments to persuade. Persuade means to convince the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the Guru. Disciple agreed quickly. He agreed, okay, fine. But obviously, Guru, he took time, he thought about it, and finally he decided. Why he decided? He thought that this kingdom should also get a chance because it was ruled by a foolish king and which has turned everything in a very bad manner. So he thought that, okay, if I'm getting an opportunity to serve the people, let's take this. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition. But yeah, he put a condition that they could change all the old laws. Yes, then they said, ki, fine, we will definitely take your request, but we have our condition. We will change all the rules. We will implement new one. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a dudu. It became like any other place. And also, what happened? That was the condition that everyone would work in day and sleep at night. Also, the cost of things would vary and not be 1 coin or 1 rupee for anything, as which was the system. It would be like any other place where everything had different rates. And finally, the Guru converted the kingdom of fools into a normal kingdom. So in this manner, all's well that ends well. Thank you.